It's not easy to raise a child, to be a parent. Shraga, let's hear from you a little bit about being a parent. What makes people want to bring children into the world?
That's a good question. For sure not because we love them, because they don't exist. We bring them because we're afraid. It's a defense mechanism. It's control. One person is because they want to leave a legacy. The other person is because they don't want to be by themselves. The other person is because they're commanded to do so. But all these reasons are not because of the child. So people bring children because selfish reasons. We are selfish creatures. That's the way we were, and that's the way we are, and that's the way we're always going to be.
I once saw a magnet that said that the best gift a father can give his children is to love their mother. But what do you believe is the best present that as parents we can give to our children?
First of all, it's true. There's a lot in this magnet that you saw. I feel that the best present we could give our child is trust, meaning enable them to have experience of feelings and us not trying to reflect on them our feelings. That means, like before we brought an example, if let's say a child goes in a certain crisis, so instead of us trying to solve that crisis for the child because we feel insecure ourselves, it's to be able to be there for them, to contain their feelings. So the best present, answering your question for us that we can give to our children, is basically to contain them, not to try to reflect our feelings on them, and that will build their inner trust, that will help them, and that will walk them through life.
What do we as parents get from our children?
The best present we get from our children is us needing to become better people, because we want to give them that inner trust. Because if we're afraid and we feel and we need to defend ourselves, we're not going to be able to give them the present that we're supposed to give them. So we understand that for us to be able to be there for them, we got to first contain ourselves. So becoming parents is life work. So basically, because our children, we learn to prove ourselves. And that's the biggest present they could give us.
It's very interesting what you're saying. So then, do children receive the emotional worlds of their parents as an inheritance?
It doesn't go through that. But the reality is that if a parent is someone that has a lot of fears and they use a lot of control, then the child won't be able to build that inner trust, will have a lot of fears and also use control. So yes, parents that are survivors of Holocaust, there's first generation, second generation, third generation. It's because that every generation passed over the fears to the next generation. And our job as parents is to be aware of that and trying to fix ourselves and to become more secure people, to be able to be there for our children and not just for ourselves.
It sounds like from what you're saying then that marriage counseling could actually be the best way to teach parents how to be parents.
Exactly. People go to parental guidance to be able to get advice how to be better parents. The thing is, nobody could teach parents how to be better parents because the issue is they're themselves feeling fear or feeling scared because things that happens with their child, and instead of being parents, meaning being there to contain their children, they defend themselves. So the answer is yes. The best way parents can improve themselves is to work on those emotional places. If they can't do it by themselves, for sure they should go to a third party, and for sure the marriage will be better and they'll be better parents.
Sometimes children go a different way than the parents had expected, and it causes friction in the family. So why does that necessarily happen, and what can parents do to really prevent that type of situation?
Well, when the child doesn't feel secure, when he's not contained about who he is and he feels his parents is defending himself, he has to be unique. For him to be unique, a lot of times he goes in a different path, he does things to get attention, etc. And the best way parents can deal with it is not thinking about themselves, what it does to them, that their child is this and that, but try to understand what fears the child fears and address those fears. And again, it's never too late. As long as the child lives at home, it's never too late to create a good atmosphere for them to be able to become better people, but it's challenging for the parents, and that's why they're the best present that we can get as parents.
What causes a teenager or any child really to make any sort of drastic change in their life?
Marty, the reality is anybody that makes drastic changes in their life, it's never because intellectual reasons, it's come emotions. If your child all of a sudden becomes vegetarian, or your child all of a sudden becomes religious, or your child all of a sudden becomes secular, or your child does any drastic change, it's never about the change. It's about understanding what's not secure And what is this trying to protect him from? Because change is defense, change is control. So instead of arguing about the specific issue, we have to try to understand what is the fear that triggers this change. And then when we address that fear, we would find that these changes melt by itself.
What then causes a child or a teenager to ask these sort of philosophical or existential questions that makes them want to do a change in their life?
As parents, as teachers, when a child comes to us with this beautiful present and he asks us a philosophy question, why God makes people suffer or why there's death or all these questions, it's never the question itself. We have to ask ourselves why the child comes to us now with this specific question. What's happening in his emotional world? Why doesn't he feel secure? What is this? What is the fear that triggers the need to answer this question? So we never supposed to address the specific question. We could tell him, this is an amazing question. Tell me about what you feel about this issue. So by going and addressing the child and into his emotional world through this window of opportunity, it's an amazing present that we have as parents. And there is exactly the place that we can make a difference in our child's life.
Why is it preferable for the therapist to treat parents and not the children themselves?
Well, based on what we said, it's clear because a child is influenced a lot from the parent's status of security. So as a therapist, when parents call me up and tell me we want to bring you our child because our child is this or that, I tell myself, 1 second, the child lives at home. The parents have a golden opportunity to really give this child containment to build this inner security. So let me help the parents feel secure of themselves, and they will be able to, after down the line, provide the child with what he needs. So the time is a lot more effective by helping the parents become stronger within themselves and then being able to be there for the children than talking and helping the child while he's living in a home that's not safe for them.
So children's problems really are just kind of an extension of the parents' problems.
Children's problems is a mirror of where the parents are holding. And it's always better as therapists to try to address the core issue to help not just this child, but all the rest of the people in the family.
Wow. The relationship between a parent and a child is so complex and so deep. And it all starts in infancy. An infant is born helpless. So how does that connect to its emotional development?
Well, that's why, Marty, an infant maybe is born helpless. Because if infant was born with defense mechanisms, then the impact of the parents on their development wouldn't be so strong. But because they're born helpless, they can't defend themselves. And because they can defend themselves and the parents contains what they feel, together it builds their inner security. Therefore, the younger the child is, the greater the impact it has, the relationship between him and his parents, the containment of his parents has on his emotional development and his ability of building that inner security that we talked about. So when a child is born helpless, it enables him, together with the containment of his parents, to build his inner security. And that's the beauty of the relationship between children and parents.
Thank you, Shraga. As a parent, I can really relate to all that you've said. It's not easy doing what is required to be a parent. But eventually, our children have to take care of us as well. And in our next chapter, we will discuss what happens in that part of our lives of sickness and death.